What's going on, everybody? We are approaching the NBA playoffs. And before we get to the NBA playoffs, we're approaching the NBA play-in tournament, which, to be honest, I know that Adam Silver, the commissioner of the NBA, has taken a lot of heat as of late with certain decisions that he has made or not made, or suspensions he has not come down hard on or got, let guys off easy with. But let's just be real. The play-in tournament actually kind of worked. I mean, if you look at it right now, this last week of the NBA season, it is pretty damn exciting, okay? Because there's a lot of shuffling going on. There's teams still playing for something. I talked about it a little bit in the last podcast, a 65-game minimum for guys to be allowed to get, all NBA recognition and MVP awards and all that, in my opinion, is working because it is, making some guys that are going to miss it, maybe rethink sitting out for certain not so serious injuries moving forward, and it may make them play through some injuries that maybe in the past they would have sat out from. So all in all, when it comes to that, I do think that these rules and these, tournaments like the play-in tournament are being effective. Again, let's talk about the play-in tournament. I mean, right now, there's still, just look at the Eastern Conference. The Atlanta Hawks are the 5th seed, and they still could end up in the play-in tournament. So they are trying to avoid it. The Miami Heat, who are sitting at the 10th seed right now, they played tonight and lost to Toronto. But before tonight, they were only 2 games out of the 6th seed and completely avoiding the play-in tournament. You got Charlotte in there. You got Orlando in there. The Sixers are in there in the mix. Toronto is holding on to that 6th seed dearly right now. So these teams, you've got 6 teams right now battling it out, trying to avoid the play-in. And just get into the playoffs. And the ones that end up playing in the play-in, well, now they're going to be fighting for playoff positioning and a playoff spot. And even at the top of the Eastern Conference, obviously the Pistons have locked in the number 1 seed. I think after tonight, for the most part, the Celtics I just finished watching them beat the Charlotte Hornets. It looks like they've wrapped up the number 2 seed. I think they'd have to lose out and the Knicks win out, which won't happen. The Celtics will be the number 2 seed. But the Knicks are the 3 seed. Cleveland is the 4 seed, and they're only 1 game behind behind New York. So a lot of shuffling going on, especially right here in the Eastern Conference. Really exciting, actually, with about 4 games left. Every game is important. Every night you're looking at the schedule and seeing which games matter. Of course, yes, there is the whole tanking situation, which, again, like I said at the top of the show, yes, Adam Silver has some deserved criticism for some of that stuff and the tanking and how that's going. But ultimately, we have to give credit where credit is due. And I think the play-in tournament has done that. In the Western Conference, it's not as exciting, I should say, because in the play-in right now, currently there are 4 teams in the play-in. You got Phoenix, the Clippers, Portland, and Golden State. And 3 of those are stuck in the play-in. So they know they're going to be in the play-in tournament, whether they play at home or on the road. That's, still up for grabs. But those 3 are in the play-in. Phoenix is the 7th seed right now, and that's where they're going to end up. I know that technically they're still alive to try to just get into the 6th seed and make the playoffs straight up, but they're not going to catch up Minnesota. They're 3.5 games out behind Minnesota with 4 games left. So, again, it would take some, disastrous run here at the end for Minnesota and a miraculous run for Phoenix to win out to get there. So the West, at least the play-in part, is a little less exciting. But when it comes to seeding, other than OKC being the number 1 seed and San Antonio the 2 seed, and even that's kind of close. San Antonio is only 2.5 games back. Again, they're not likely to reach the Thunder. The Thunder will be the number 1 seed, and the Spurs will be number 2. But then you got the Nuggets, only a half game up on the Lakers for the 3 seed. The Lakers are only a game up on the Rockets for the 4 seed, and the Rockets are 2.5 games up on the Wolves. And the Wolves, they've been playing 500 basketball as of late, so they were in there not too long ago. So again, the standings a lot of shuffling still going on, but all I really wanted to talk about is how exciting this is coming down the wire, especially that Eastern Conference. Like I said, 3 through 10, they're all playing for something. And that's just super exciting. So maybe it's just a one-off year where it played out this way, and that's great. But ultimately, exciting, to see this going down the stretch. And the one thing, again, that I just have heard a lot of people say about, obviously, the tanking situation, which I understand. Look, it's frustrating. teams that tank. We're watching teams. The other day, the headline was, I think there were 5 blowouts of 30 plus points. So there were 5 games on the same night in the NBA where a team lost by 30 plus points. Embarrassing, of course. No one wants to see that kind of basketball. It's not competitive. It's not close at all. And I don't know the answer. So I'm not going to sit here and be like, this is how you fix that. But I do get tired of people complaining, saying that the season's too long, because the season has been 82 games as long as I've known, right? And you know what? Back in the day, scores didn't reach 140 points in the game, right? The scores would be like 92 to 84 or something like that. A blowout back in the day was 89 to 70 was a blowout. Okay. And that's, some teams are up 19 points after the first quarter these days. But I will say, obviously, I just think that the incentive for the players, I'm not even blaming the players. I think this happens. The more, money the league makes, the less incentivized I would say that the players are to play. Like when you need money more, you're going to play more. And, this is the same thing of why I'm on board with Adam Silver's 65 game threshold for guys to get awards and all NBA. Because in a lot of these contracts, when you get all NBA, now you're eligible for Supermax extension. So there is a lot of money on the line for these guys. And yeah, if these guys only end up playing 63 games, they're going to complain because they're going to be like, oh, we were 2 games away from the threshold. Well, guess what? Sorry, like you got to play that number at least. And I really like that. I do think that it will, as the years go on, it will change a little bit of the culture. And I like that at least Adam Silver with that in particular has laid down the hammer, and hopefully he doesn't back out of it, because I've seen a lot of people, obviously like Cade Cunningham, right? The guy was having an MVP year, MVP candidate. Now he's out for the rest of the regular season, and he's going to be just shy of, getting all NBA honors. And is it a sad situation? Does it suck? Absolutely. But is it what's necessary to prevent guys from sitting out when they feel like it? Yeah. And sometimes there has to be that sacrificial, situation. I'm not saying Cade Cunningham would be that guy. And it sucks that it's him that's going to essentially maybe pay the price and not be all NBA this year. But that is what happens when life gets too good, right? Like when it's just one of those situations where in the regular workplace, you could give people, 20 sick days a year, paid sick days a year. And if everyone starts abusing that, and down the stretch, and when it's almost the end of the year and they haven't used up 10 sick days and they just use them, I'm not going to blame them for using them because they're there for you to use. And if you can use the system to your advantage, you're going to use it. But then at the same time, when people do that, that business is going to be like, all right, well, if everyone is using all 20, then, the expectation wasn't that they would use all 20. So we got to kind of tighten the ship. So maybe now the next year, that company might only give out 15. I don't know. I'm just saying it's time. It was time that I think Commissioner Adam Silver put his foot down and said, all right, enough is enough. You had guys playing barely any games. I mean, Joel Embiid, when he was up for the running for Rookie of the Year, I think he only played like 32 games the whole season. All right. And 65 games is not like, people think that's a lot of games. 65 games is not that many games. Okay. 65 out of 82. I'm going to tell you right now, 65 out of 82 is less than 80% of the games. Okay. So that's, hey, you can sit out 1 out of every 5 games and still be eligible for these awards. Like, come on now. Even that's babying them, in my opinion. But I'm just saying, like, again, and it sucks, right? If you get injured and it's a bad injury and you have to miss a lot of time, does it suck? Absolutely. Is there a world where, Victor Wembanyama or Nikola Jokic or these guys are not in the first, second, or third team All-NBA and they're not one of the top 15 players? No way. We know that they're one of the top 15 players in the NBA for sure. But for these awards, for that bag, you're not eligible. And that's that. And, it's either that or the money can't be dependent on these awards. And then, you know what? Guys then probably won't even care as much about being all NBA because that's just what it is. It's a business for them. And I'm not saying it's all of them. A lot of them do want the recognition and they have the pride and they want that. But a lot of this is business. Okay. Like if you are rookie of the year, if you are the league MVP, that means something for your business. That's on your resume, not just in the NBA Hall of Fame, but it's in your resume for anything and everything else outside of basketball too. Okay. So again, I do like that. Finally, Adam Silver did come down with that. And again, for me, that's a win for Adam Silver. The play-in tournament, that's a win. The in-season tournament, I don't know about that one yet. Maybe needs more time. Again, it's just one of those things where look at what incentivizes guys for the in-season tournament. It's money, right? And that's the one thing I don't like about it, actually, is that it's promoted as the winner gets $500,000. So it's pretty much a reality show Survivor. Like, hey, these guys are going to compete at a basketball game for a bag. And that's what we're watching. And the average person watching at home, isn't that interested in seeing rich guys get richer, right? So it's one of those things where it's a tough sell to a regular crowd. The iconic photos of, Kobe hugging the trophy or MJ on the ground, Michael Jordan hugging the trophy is about the trophy. And that's what the ultimate prize was. And with the in-season tournament, we're kind of selling it as the ultimate prize is this cash. And so I just think that's the not a good selling point, in my opinion. So we'll see how that goes moving forward. But again, as far as the 65 game threshold, I love it. The play-in tournament, I love it. It'll make for some exciting basketball here next week once the regular season winds down. And again, it's creating essentially musical chairs down the stretch here to see who can avoid those extra 2 games. And those 2 games feel like March Madness games, right? Because it's the 9-10 game off the bat is loser goes home. And that's what it is. So again, we'll see how everything goes. The tanking thing, we'll see how they decide to fix that. I do think that I've heard some pretty cool ideas and everybody's got different theories. And ultimately, I think they will come up with something that'll help prevent that. But whatever it is, I think it can only get better, right? Because at this point, it's pretty obvious when you see some of these teams that are literally just tanking the season away just to get better draft picks. So it is what it is. They'll fix it. But I just want to come on and talk about that. I'll try to put up another episode, obviously, right before the playoffs start. And I want to talk about the 5 teams that are feeling the most pressure going into the NBA playoffs. Number 1 might surprise you. So I'll be back next week and talk to you guys about the NBA playoffs right around the corner. Can't wait for that. The NFL draft is coming up in about 3 weeks as well. So that is really exciting. I can't wait for that. This time of year, any NFL news, it's pretty exciting. So looking forward to talking about the NFL draft and seeing what we expect and who can actually make that huge leap this year with a good draft. And we'll talk about that as well. So again, thanks for watching, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. And I'll talk to you all on the next one.